right, it's time for another episode of PEBAheads, and on today's episode, we got Scott and myself, and a special guest from Palm Springs. Rob, how's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Great.
It's unusual. We normally don't do these in the morning, so having coffee rather than a beer or mixed drink is something new.
Well, that makes one of us.
Hmm.
Yeah, you
Well, it's a
just got
holiday
off work,
weekend.
so yeah,
It's a
I
holiday weekend.
just got home from work. This is my evening.
yeah.
Yeah, and being a holiday weekend, once we get past about 1 o'clock, I'm not sure that anyone wants me on a podcast.
Oh, we've done a few of those, right, Sean?
Yeah. We don't know if anyone wants them, but
The filter, well, some of them have been lost forever. Thank you,
yeah.
Lenny. The filter it completely gets eliminated after several drinks.
I picked that up on the last one I watched.
Yeah, Lenny was able to cut out some of the worst abuses of our last podcast, but I feel bad for him because I'm sure it's a ton of work to chuck out the stuff that might be less than perfect to release to the 9 people in the world who like to listen and or watch to our podcast.
We got to keep those nine happy.
That's right. We don't want it to drop down to 7 or 8. My
Yeah.
God,
Well, let's see if we can get to a couple extra viewers on this one.
double digits always makes me smile.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get my family to watch it all individually.
It'll be like,
Gotta
what is this?
we
What
can
is this
boost
you do? Yeah.
we got to boost those engagement numbers so we can get better advertisers.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
So
we'll
let's
start off.
let's start with some
Yeah.
questions. Rob, how long have obviously you're the GM of Palm Springs. How long have you been in the league?
I've joined, I believe it was kind of midway through the 2039 season. So, just a few years. Came in and kind of used that 2039 season to get the team ready to kind of rebuild or reshuffle, I guess you'd say, got rid of bad contracts, that sort of thing. So since 2039.
So do you feel like so I was looking over your team. Obviously, we're in the same division. Uh, you do have a lot of young players. Do you feel like you're getting close to where you wanted to be? How's it gone from, taking over the reins to today? Are you satisfied with the plan that you've put in place?
Yeah, I mean, when I first joined, I looked at the team. There was some assets in the minors that were good prospects, but not the type that I liked. I made very aggressive moves to push for a playoff run, which I made the playoffs. Then out of the park 25 had different ideas of how my team should do. And I got to the point where I had to make a decision, either ride it through a rough year last year, um, allow the veterans to get a year older and potentially lose the ability to trade them off for assets, or trade them off for assets and try to kind of rebuild on the fly. That's what I chose to do because I did not want to get stuck in a longer rebuild because I held on to veterans too long. They became untradeable, or I just wasn't going to get much in return. I thought the smarter move was to be more aggressive and just fill the team with young players and try to find a core out of those young players. And then if I have a core, then we'd build around it. And if we did not find a core this year, then I probably would have sold off some of the other players, like the pitching, and really gone to a deeper rebuild. I'm just trying to avoid that, 4, 5, 6 season rebuild.
Well, you got a lot of young players. I was looking, you got 3 21-year-olds. Obviously this is September, so some of these players might be you're just getting a feel for them as September call-ups, but your overall team looks very young to me. I mean, you've got a couple. Your oldest player is a 35-year-old starting pitcher. Then you got a 34-year-old, a 32-year-old, a 31-year-old. two 30-year-olds, and then everybody else is 29 and below, with again with
Yep.
several people in their early 20s. So I think that's obviously a plus sign that you're able to be, not horrible. You're, a competitive team. Both of us, you made a
Yep.
joke about me passing you in the standings. I'm not sure that's gonna happen, but we look like we're similar teams right now. We're not too far away from each other. I think you got 1.5 game on me as of today.
Yeah.
So you're doing
Yeah.
it
And
with a lot of youth.
that was the plan, was just throw a bunch of young players at the wall and hope that out of that group that I picked up, some I had, some I traded for, just hope that a core would emerge, something we can build around young guys. Last year was the first draft that I've had that since I've been in the league that I had any draft picks above the sixth round.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, yeah, I used draft picks and the prospects I had to build the team for that playoff run, and I didn't expect to have to rebuild so quickly, but I did. So that's what we did, was just do that. I was fortunate enough to end up with three top 10 picks last year. Two of them, or one of them's on the team, Herb Moon. He came out the gate, put him 50 games in the minors, and he's hitting 281 right now in the majors with 224 at bats. So that was kind of lucky to get a player that was ready. Wagner's not too far away, and then the third one was an outfielder who's going to take a few years to get here.
Yeah, I was looking at your top players. You got, interestingly, the Yamamoto's squared, right? You've got two Yamamotos on your team that are among your top players, a starting pitcher and a catcher. You
Yeah,
got that Moon.
twins.
Yeah, the first baseman Moon, and then your second baseman Fernandez. I mean, these are, you know, pretty top quality players that you can build around.
Yeah, and the left fielder Katnech, he was playing first, but once I drafted Moon, I slid him back out to left. He's probably one of the
One of
best
the best
bats
bats.
I've had in the league.
So obviously, and this is not a criticism because we're in the same boat, but neither you or I are making the playoffs this year. So how did your season go from your plans heading into this season? Did you end up about where you thought you would be? Are you satisfied with the progress that you've made towards becoming a contender?
I'm actually thrilled because last year we were the fourth worst team in the league. And quite frankly, I expected another top 10 draft choice. And so we have far exceeded my expectations. I felt like my top two or three pitchers I was confident in, but I've gotten really good contributions from four and five. Um, all of my starters are over 200 innings on the season,
Yeah.
and that has made a bad bullpen almost serviceable. Not quite, but it's helped a lot. So
Yeah, I see
we're a lot further ahead than I expected.
your starters are seventh in ERA and your bullpen is ninth. Coincidentally, your starter ERA and your bullpen ERA are almost identical. It's just apparently the bullpens have a much lower average ERA in the league. So I don't
Yeah,
actually, again, once you factor in how well you're performing with how young your team is, I think that's something to be, that's definitely a glass half full way of looking at it.
I'm really hoping, like in real life, you would say that you're going to get improvement from within just as players develop and age. And I hope that holds true, in out of the park baseball here. I'm counting on next year, my guys that are all 25 and under will take a step forward and perform at an even higher level. I mean, I sure hope that's the way it works in this league.
Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. I expect to be surprised by someone's performance, either on the positive and or the negative.
Yeah. Oh, the last couple of years have definitely showed me that consistency is hard to come by with some of the players.
Yeah. So on that subject, we do seem to have, I pretty regularly look over the league and how it's going in general. Personally, I think it's pretty easy to go from a horrible team to a decent team. I've never found that to be difficult. It's a little harder, but not particularly difficult to go from decent to good. But going from good to excellent is one of the hardest things you can do in this league. It's just there's just so much competition that just getting to that top level where you're going to make the playoffs consistently, and or get into the championship game and even win it. That's just the hardest part of that. Again, I find the bottom stuff, I can be 100 loss team next season if I wanted to with no effort. If you said, "Hey, I'll give you $1,000 to, or $10,000, you need to lose 100 games next year." I'm like, done. You better write the check. If they say I'm going to give you, $1 million to win the championship, I'd be like, yeah, okay. You know, you don't worry about having to write that check to me.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. If you look at the push I made, what, season and a half ago now to make the playoffs, once we got there, I mean, I was looking how I was going to be able to build or add to the team to take that next level. And it was going to be a tough task, but the game version change kind of took that out of my hands. So now we're, a good team or a decent team trying to become a consistent playoff contender. I have pieces to add. I'm going to have to find some players basically.
So do you
But
have
at this,
do you have a particular strategy that you like to employ? As an example, me and Sean and the other guys have talked about the different strategies that we do. I'm more of a draft and develop kind of guy. I'm not a particularly good trader. You know, you're not going to find me. No one's going to say, "Oh yeah, he's a predatory trader, man. That guy knows how to get the most out of every trade he gets." It's just not my thing. I've never been able to do it, and I have no interest in becoming that guy who's going to dominate three or four teams in a trade. If I have ever dominated a trade, it was pure luck. So, you could develop through the draft. You can develop some of these guys in this league. I mean, I can't imagine like Aurora, 5 championships, 26 playoff appearances. I mean, Florida obviously fueled by some recent, I think without their top two guys, this would not be true, but they've got 8 championships and 30 playoff appearances. West Virginia, 3 championships, 19 playoff appearances. Some of these teams have had multiple owners, but they clearly have figured out how to win in this league. Is it because they're that much better at player evaluation? Are they that much better at drafting and developing? Are they that much better at trading? I don't know. Maybe they're just lucky. Who knows? What are your thoughts on competing in this league, and how do you think you can best do that?
I think of any league that I've ever been in, and I've played the game since it was out of the park single digits. Can't remember which one I started. It really comes down to activity. The most active owners almost always win. But obviously, the first few seasons in the league, I made a lot of trades. The first time I was doing it, it was to push for the playoffs while my pitching was young and cheap. After we had to shuffle the deck here and change approaches, I was aggressive again trading. But I think moving forward, you'll see that I'm going to spend more time with the draft. The main reason that I was aggressive in trading during, I guess you'd say, this rebuild, in my opinion, you'll never compete without a catcher, a shortstop, and a center fielder. So I'm always going to be very aggressive to acquire those three positions, and I will overpay to get the guy that I want, which I did.
So
I paid
what do
pretty
you
well for Pinu.
we've had this conversation again. There's going to be recurring themes here, but
Sure.
Sean and I and others have discussed the defense and offense trade-off at those three key positions. What's your thoughts on, like, as an example, if I can get an elite defending shortstop, and I mean across the board, right? Eights, nines, tens in, range, error, arm, turn double play, but only get, say, an OPS plus of 90 out of my shortstop, I'm doing it, right? I'm sacrificing offense for defense at shortstop. You can make the same argument for center field, and you can make a similar argument for catcher. How do you view that? I mean, obviously, if you can get a 900 OPS plus or 900 OPS shortstop who's also an elite defender, great, but you know, good luck finding that. I mean, some of us are fortunate to be able to trade for a center fielder who can both hit and field with my guy Washington. But Shortstop, I keep coming up blank. So I keep having to run out a guy that's not the perfect guy for me. He's not the guy that I would prefer out there because I just can't get the guy that I prefer.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, especially on short and center. I think you can have an average defensive catcher if they are on a plus on the hit side and still win. But I think shortstop and center fielder are critical. Um, so I'm willing to go defense first because the idea of finding a two-way player, whether they're like two or three in the league at each position.
Yeah, and
So,
try and get them from somebody and see what kind of arm and a leg you're going to have to trade away to get it.
yeah. And my first version or first the team for the playoffs that I built, I had Chew at short. The guy, he's a phenomenal defender, not much of a hitter. Not sure why I traded him. That's one I kind of regret making that move. But I got Awe now, he's a solid defender. He's my stopgap guy until Sam Carter develops. But defense first at short and center until I can find a two-way. I'm not going to run an average defender out at short or center for an average bat.
Yeah, he's
I
got a
would rather go
seven.
heavy defender.
Yeah, your shortstop. How do you pronounce Pula Aw?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, 7 zone rating, right? Outstanding. Um, and but you're sacrificing some hit for this guy. I mean, he's got a 571 OPS.
yep.
So you
My long
could,
term my long-term plan for him is to be my utility infielder when I find his replacement. So I figured, I made a trade to get him. I gave up, I think, a second, which might have been a little steep, but I wanted the defense. He is my stopgap until I find my long term. And the second round this year, I drafted Sam Carter. We'll see what he does. He's not going to be a big hitter either, but his defense is fantastic. So he will be my other stopgap until I find that superstar that does both well.
currently your third best prospect according to your rankings.
Yeah.
22-year-old shortstop, already in AAA.
I
Yep.
wanted to
Yeah.
show this other view quick because I know there was when you acquired Kurt Pinow, there was discussion among the league if you overpaid or underpaid
Oh,
or
I
if he was
certainly
worth.
overpaid.
Well, what's funny though is you overpaid, but overpaid in relation to what? Because let me show you what when you start filtering down the type of outfielders in the league that we have that just have 9 range.
Yeah,
There's
you're about to show
24.
why I overpaid. I mean,
Yeah.
I looked at every team's minors, what was available in the draft, what was available in international free agency. Like I knew the profile I wanted, and he was one of two that were available. And the other guy I would have had to give up. Actually offered two number ones, my one of my top prospects, and change for the other guy. And in hindsight, I'm glad they said no. Uh, Canu's not a superstar, but he definitely fits the bill of what I wanted. And he was just starting to hit it again when he got hurt.
Well, once you just start filtering by the outfield ratings, I just put it at 8 for error, but his is 9, so you could even get less of a pool here. But I believe his arm is like a 7. But yeah, you just start filtering this stuff, and what I want to show people is not only that there's a screen here that you can look at this stuff, but that gets you down to 16, and that's without looking at any of the hitting side of it. And I I know, some say that he's not a good hitter, but when you really look at it, his OPS plus is a 96 with Palm Springs, so it's in relation to the other center fielders in the league,
Yeah, if you can
that's
get
way
that,
higher than a lot of center fielders.
again, if you can get that level of defensive production out of your shortstop and your center fielder and get right around a 90, even a 100 OPS plus, then you're way ahead of the game. It's not that easy to do.
Yeah. And that's why I paid what I did. Like I knew I was giving up quite a bit. Um, but the more I thought about it afterwards, I don't regret it at all. Because I just don't think you can win in the league without defense at short and center. And so I don't see the reason to try. Try. I mean, you got to get those pieces in place, in my opinion, before it matters what you do everywhere else. And starting pitching, of course. You got to have starting pitching.
I mean, essentially, you swapped third round picks in the deal for him. So really, it was like a first round. You gave up a first round, a fourth round, and a sixth round. And where you were drafting at, are you going to find a center fielder with that profile ready to play? I, I don't think you are.
No. And there wasn't a center fielder with this defense in this draft because I had looked ahead, well ahead, and there just wasn't.
Well,
So
it'll
I
be
figured,
interesting. I think in our league too, what I've noticed is a lot of young players, when they first make the step up to PEBA, it takes a few seasons for their elite defense to truly round out. And he's definitely already a great defender, but I think he still has room on the stat side to become an even better defender. All right, Rob. So moving forward with Palm Spring, what does the future look like? What's your off-season strategy to tackle next season?
but I think we found a core to work around. You know, I feel pretty good about most of my position players. There's areas I'm going to want to upgrade. I would like to find another bat for sure that can defend. Like to improve my defense a little bit and left, even if that means moving Cantonich to DH. Figure that out. Um, with the version change going from 25 and seeing such a drastic change, I want to make sure that my minors stay stocked moving forward. So I have the opportunity to change on the fly if I see things aren't going well, or if we run into another version change that's going to change things significantly. I don't want to have a team full of expensive veterans and have to change on the fly like I just did. So I think that for me, that's kind of the strategy. Definitely need to rebuild my bullpen. My ERA might be high or on, you know, about the same as my starters, but it's just because my starters ate so many innings. And other than Miles, I really didn't have a dominant guy in the bullpen. Rawlinson's not bad, but I definitely need to get some more back end of the bullpen guys. I lost Jordan Morgan at the beginning of the year, left-handed reliever. He's really solid, and I mean that hurt us more than I expected it to. So that's my strategy. So anyone that's got that bat, you know, 28 years old, heading their prime, already locked down for about 4 or 5 years, I'm your guy. Send them to Palm Springs. Maybe some bullpen arms to go with them.
No,
Sounds
that's
like a good
good.
strategy to me. Yeah.
Yep. Where do we go from here? I think we've tackled Palm Springs, but there were a couple other teams we wanted to talk about this week that kind of are in that similar scenario as to what Palm Springs is, where you're either right on the cusp of being back into playoff contention, or in the case of these two teams, it looks like they're right in the thick of being playoff teams this year. And I want to first start off with the San Juan Coqui, and I think I pronounced that correctly, but we'll figure out after we post this. But they're a team that's surprised me this year. I thought that they would be around the 500 level, but they're right in the thick of things for a playoff spot. And I don't know if that's more of the league on that side opening an opportunity for them, or if it's
They
something to really expect moving forward with them.
they were definitely under my radar going into the season, and then when I was looking around for trade targets and had looked at their team, I did not realize they had collected, you know, some of the talent they had. they have some really nice young players. So I think that, really makes sense to see them rise like they have. Love their fact they got a 6'6" shortstop who plays really good defense. But no, they've really collected some nice players.
It looks like, I mean, they do seem like a one-sided team, right? They're first or they're
Yes,
second in runs scored, first in home runs. Even their base running and steals are pretty good. It's just the pitching side. They're definitely going to need to improve. Uh, 11th in runs against, 10th in starter ERA, 10th in bullpen ERA, pitching WAR 8th. So, strikeouts 11th. So they could definitely use some pitching improvement that could take them to the next level, right?
100% agree with that.
Easy
I
to
think,
find, right? These good pitchers, they're all over the place. You could pluck them from the trees.
well, and plus he drafted what the player I thought was the best player in the draft, Timothy Abbey. I was if he was there, I was going to take him with the fourth pick. So pretty sure that's what he did.
Yeah, number two overall.
Yep, I thought he was the best player in the draft, and so he's got that guy coming up. Looking at his minors, he has some pitching that'll be there eventually, but I agree with you. He definitely probably will be hunting pitching in this offseason.
Yeah, just looking at his minor league system right now, top, let's see, five guys are all hitters. It looks like he's got that covered. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
well,
a
he
Yeah.
might,
matter.
let's be honest, he might want to consider trading some of those hitting prospects for some pitchers.
Well, if he
Yeah.
wants to trade that 6'6" shortstop to Palm Springs for pitching,
I don't,
let me know.
but that guy's producing at the big league level, right? So that's a different story. But
Oh yeah, he's excellent.
yeah, it's harder to get to trade away. I mean, again, you could do it from a position of strength, but I didn't see if he had anybody in AAA to replace his guy. But th
Yeah.
those are the types of problems that you have. But if you're looking at the prospect list, his top prospects, there's a lot of hitters in there that he can deal and be
Yeah.
more comfortable with because of the hitting that he's got at the major league level.
I was gonna say too,
Wow.
San Juan, if you're interested in sending Klaus over to the Scottish, we wouldn't oblige
Well,
or
if you
not entertain
if,
that discussion.
if you look at his middle infield, they're 24 and 26 years old,
Yeah,
and
and good.
that's a fantastic combination to build around. And let's see, does he have the center field piece in place?
And yeah, this Cataldo, I I think the only so and this isn't a negative, it's just a different way of building, but he's definitely going hitting side first when it comes to your up the middle. Like they're not terrible defenders, but they're more second base rated like to be an elite player. But if you're scoring enough runs, that's not going to hurt you there. So I don't know if Cataldo remains. I think right now he's got him at second base, which I think is a perfect spot for him. Martinez, he's got obviously you can't have everyone play second base, but Martinez is the shortstop right now. It looks like he's got a day-to-day industry or day-to-day injury for 4 weeks, which I don't know why OTP does this. Like, just say he's injured. Like, are you going to play
Right.
a guy for 4 weeks with a day-to-day injury that most likely, I don't
I
know.
hate
It
I
puts
hate
San
to
Juan in a terrible spot because it's like you're trying for a playoff spot, but you're also risking a more serious injury to occur
Yeah,
during
those are
that
the
time.
worst. The day-to-days are the worst. And especially when they go on forever. It's like, come on, just tell me the guy can play or he can't. Make a
Yeah.
decision.
The other, there are two teams in the Dixie League I really like looking at is Charleston and San Antonio. I think both of those teams are a year or two away from
Charleston
possibly
won it all
dethroning.
last year.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know if they won it with smoke and mirrors or there's some kind of, drastic change. did they lose a lot of people in the offseason? I did not pay that close attention to them, but that's the one team where you look at it and go, this team won it
Yep.
all last year. What changed?
I'm going to say it's just the World Series hangover because I'm sure the game counts for that. But no, I was surprised too. But I think in the next year or two, depending on the moves those guys make, I don't think Florida is going to be as safe at the top as they have been over the
Yeah.
next few years.
We need to, there's two players that need to age before they,
That's yes,
Well, with
yes,
Charleston too, it's nice to see. So I think part of what led to their success last year in the playoffs was that they had at least three starting pitchers that could match up well against any team that they were going to play. And then their offense got hot at the right time too, so that they're scoring runs. But the big thing that stands out for me for them this year is that in batting war, they're second, which if you see that and you're like, oh, they must be having a great offensive year. And runs scored, they're 10th. I think a lot of that batting war is carried by players like Graham Manning, who you're getting the defensive side boost for that batting war, and it's not counting like the way OOTP does it. It's not true batting war. It's just taking the regular war of the player. So like if you start adding up the on offense their wars, it's counting their total war and not. So he's getting the boost for being a center fielder, and then he's getting the defensive boost because he's an elite defender as well. So it's not necessarily driving the true rating. So be careful league wide when you're looking at WAR to understand like what it actually means because when you dive deeper into the offense, um, he's fourth in batting average right now, but his on base percentage is 11th. So it looks like guys are they're making a lot of contact and they're hitting into a lot of outs. So whether or not that's just bad luck to expect it to continue, but we're kind of getting to the sample size part of the season now where it might be a little bit more than just bad luck.
right.
But they're winning a lot of games right now too, and I think when I know they had like a run of like 9 out of 10 games at one point. I think their last 10, they're 7 out of 10. So they're getting hot at the right time. So they're going to be a team that if they do end up making the playoffs, they're right on. It looks like it's going to be a battle between them and San Antonio. You're
Yeah,
not
the
going to want to face
downside,
them.
it looks like they lost one of their top pitchers in August. Kun,
Wow.
he 3.8 WAR last year, sub positive WAR this year, and he's out now, so that's got to hurt.
Well, let's flip over to San Antonio a bit and talk a little bit about them too, since you mentioned them. I know they made some aggressive moves at the deadline. They acquired McCoy, and he's already put him in the bullpen. Um, it's kind of interesting just to kind of see that how it kind of mimics real life, where it's not just you're accumulating a elite player on paper. It doesn't always translate to immediate success with that new team.
Yeah, McCoy, I don't know, he was seems to me to be a victim of the version change 25 because, you know, obviously we had him in Palm Springs. He was excellent in 2040, solid in 2041, and then I ended up trading him because we were heading into uncertain whether we were going to be good anytime soon, and I didn't want to have to pay a guy if we were going to be blowing the team up. So I traded him, and since then, yeah, he's had a pretty rough go of it compared to what he was. I don't know any other way to, I don't see any other explanation other than the change in the versions because I don't see injuries. Trying to find his development to see if he lost anything. Well, either way, but
Yeah,
no,
I think what it looks like on my screen is it looks like when he did lose something, it was right when the version change happened. So I know Dylan's made the point before that what we see as the rating changed, but the points behind that rating haven't changed in the system per se. So I don't know. I know Scott and I have had the discussion before about adaptability on a player, and he's got low adaptability. So I don't think it explains year two in Palm Springs, but I do think it probably shines a light on Yuma and especially his performance with San Antonio after being traded, that there's
That's a good
definitely
point.
something there. But I mean, when we're looking ahead at free agent starting pitchers next year, is there, I mean, someone's going to pull the trigger on this guy and pay probably a lot of money gambling that he's going to be somewhat back to what
Like more
his
than he's
Yeah,
making out. So you see like 15 because I
that's what he
mean
was asking from me when I had him and was looking to extend him. He wanted 15.
I just
So
think
who knows what it is now?
last year and this year again free agent it's going to drive up his value, but yes, someone will pay him, but do you think someone's going to pay him 15, 18?
I
I mean,
mean,
that's
Desperate for pitching.
if this is
yeah, I
the
was going to
trend
say
on a short term,
Kentucky.
yeah. But if you got to pay him 5 years at a high, I would. I mean, I could use starting pitching. I would be a little apprehensive to go too high
Oh,
on 5 years. You know,
I would tell you if I could get him on a 2 year deal, that Palm
yeah,
Springs would bring him back and,
yeah. On
just
a short,
gamble and see what I'm getting.
yeah, on a shorter term deal, I'll give him 15, 16 million, but not on a long term deal because what if this is the new norm?
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way to know. I mean, unless you could,
Beyond him, though, he has a nice middle infield too. I mean, offensively,
yeah, because this guy's an extreme ground ball, so that's the first thing I looked at, and his infield is not bad. So if he had bad shortstop, bad second baseman, I could chalk this thing up to, oh, well, it's just he doesn't have the defense behind him, but that's not the case. The defense is pretty good.
yeah, he's
And
strong up the middle.
I'd want to check too with what Yuma had behind him, but we don't have time for, we might have to do that on another episode.
We never have time for Yuma. Who's got time for Yuma?
So, which other teams? You guys mentioned Crystal Lake is a team we wanted to look at, just because
Yeah,
we're
I
all in
know
similar.
in previous years we've always done the Burrow watch, and I think Burrow was a guy that definitely got hurt from what his max potential could have been, and why RJ spent the money he did on Burrow when he entered the league as a free agent. But you look at things now, and sorry, I just had the previous recording we did just popped up.
I
But
can understand why he took a swing at him because it's so hard to find a two-way center fielder that,
exactly.
has the defense and the offense, and he looked like he was the next superstar. So I
But
totally understand why he made that move.
I know we talked to RJ at the time, and he kind of outlined his plan, and it really does seem like things are falling in place the way that he had projected. It might not be Burrow in that same role, but he's got Burrow leading off now for him, and he fills a need for that team, and he's been able to kind of build a core around that while adding in some other nice pieces like starting pitcher Lupe Van Dam.
Well, and while Burrow's contract continues to drop,
Yeah,
so he'll be 28 million next year.
But
Uh,
it doesn't look like it's hurting him. I mean, he's number one in payroll, right, with 202 million. But he's high up on the total revenue. He's six with 206, almost 207 million in total revenue. So, those contracts are bad when they hamstring you financially, but it does not appear as if the Burrow deal has hamstringed him. We
he
could,
did a
we
great job decelerating, getting each year having the amounts drop.
right, and we'd have to ask him if it's preventing him from getting an upgrade somewhere that he needs it.
well, I
See what
know
is
early on when I first took over the Scottish, we made a trade with RJ for I got Castaneda, and I think it was a straight up trade where I traded a young shortstop UA Bow And Bow's been a guy for him that's been solid on defense, and he's got a little bit of pop. And this year, I don't get it, but he's got 21 home runs on 6 power. So when you're able to have a defensive shortstop like that that gives you this year 21 home runs, that's
Yeah.
got to be huge. And
Batting ninth.
yeah,
Well, I think looking at what his payroll is going to be next year, it's going to go up to 227 million.
Wow. He might have to make
Uh,
some trades.
so
We'll
something's going to
see.
have to give
yeah,
probably there.
yeah. His pitching, how is his pitching? He's got some guys.
The good thing for
Yeah,
him is it looks like even if it goes up, he's got a very similar team for the next 2 years. So maybe that's
Yeah, he might not be making any big acquisitions, unless he does some trades where he pairs back some financial responsibility.
yeah. I mean, he has an opportunity to maybe move an outfielder to get some assets because he's got good outfielders, and that's where his money's tied up. 35 million on, let's see, for next year, 28 million on Burrow, 27.6 on Franco, 23 on Sanu, and 12 on Johnson. It's a lot of money wrapped up in an outfield.
it looks like he's got a couple young prospect pitchers that are getting close. So that might fit that timeline of the next 2 years if he can keep what he's got and then kind of start plugging some of the. I'm not even going to try to butcher this one starting pitcher prospect he's got, but he's got a guy at
Is so
Avald, Gerard
at a quick
Rice, Ryson,
glance, at a
Reese.
quick glance, it looks like Madison's the only one that's going to offer any challenge in that division over the next year or two. Or am I wrong? I haven't looked closely at Duluth or the other teams. Duluth's got some good young players.
I think Duluth will be there. Yeah, Ken taking over Madison. It'll be interesting to see how how quickly he tries to compete. I know he's got that itch based on his time as Florida GM that I doubt that he wants to sit around too long not trying to win. But
Right.
Fargo, I think, I don't know. That's got to be one of I think they're this year's Palm Springs from what happened to you previously, Rob. I mean, they are a team on paper that looks like ratings wise they should be performing a lot better than they have.
Yeah,
So
they've got some
it's
nice
a
starting pitching.
They can't score runs. 12th. They're 12th in the league in runs scored.
lot of solo shots, it looks like.
He's got my shortstop. That's who I traded to that I regret. Chew. The guy is not a superstar, but he's going to be the one player, probably as long as I'm going to be in the league, that I regret trading. Just because I love defense at shortstop so much.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
That is true though. Like I always laugh when you see trade blocks posted and it's like, here are my guys that I don't want, but I am seeking a elite shortstop or elite starting pitcher. And it's like you're posting guys that are like your 2.5, 2-star guys, and yeah, I want to give you 5 of these guys for your one great player. It's like who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I gave up a lot to get him. It was dumb. I don't know why I traded him. That's the one, like I said, I'll regret. Who else we got in there?
Well, it's good to see Tempe kind of rebounded and they're maybe not at the level they thought they should be at, but they're right there in the playoff hunt this year rather than
Not
being out
sure.
of it.
Not sure that Scott and I are as happy as you are about Tempe rebounding, but
Correct.
Well, it's just I wonder, is it a rebound or is it more your two teams having the struggles that you've had and then they're benefiting from it. Like that's where you don't know. Like is it a real rebound or is it that your teams have fallen a little
they
bit?
I think they're pretty good. They got
I
definitely
mean,
got
on
some
paper they
players on
should
that
be.
roster. Yeah,
And
yeah. Pitching's
that
just entering
division's
its prime.
your division's tightened up quite a bit in the last sim or two. It looks like Aurora's 1-9 and lost 7 straight games. So now a division that looked like it was all but tied up is now a 3-game gap with the 2 sims left.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the pennant chase page and it looks like things are pretty much settled, right? So the IL wild card and the SL wild card, you got 2 teams in the IL, London and San Juan at 99.7% playoff odds. San Antonio 74.8, and then Charleston at 24%. And on the other side, it looks like that's settled. Shinseki, Nihamashi, both 100% playoff odds, with Okinawa or with Tempe coming in at 97.9, and then Okinawa has a 2.2% chance. Like, is this not all wrapped up? I mean, maybe you shift who wins the division, but the playoff teams look like they're set. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're
They
right.
look pretty,
Well,
yeah.
the nice thing is Palm Springs will not be making the playoffs, but we can
That's nice.
still affect. Well, we can still affect what happens in the Desert Hills because
Spoiler.
Tempe plays us the last 2 games. So, Commissioner Mike, if you want to see good pitching against Tempe those past 2 games, I'm going to need a draft pick
What do
or
you
a
got? Yeah.
prospect.
Well, let's close with that. Thanks, guys, for your time this week, and we'll keep it nice and short and sweet.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys, for having me on, and anytime.
It was
All
fun.
right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
From the highlands of Edinburgh to the Jersey Shore, we've got baseball like you've never seen before. In Reno, the desert heats up the play, while in Bakersfield we swing the night away. Welcome to the PEBA, where the world's our field. From the mountains to the cities, the action's never sealed. With gloves on and bats in hand, we're here to thrill. In the Planetary Extreme Baseball Alliance, we've got the skill. The pitches fly like neon lights, and down in San Antonio, the game ignites. From the beaches of Florida to the plains of Fargo, our league's the wildest, we won't refrain. Welcome to the PEBA, where the world's our field. From the mountains to the cities, the action's never sealed. With gloves on and bats in hand, we're here to thrill. In the Planetary Extreme Baseball Alliance, we've got the skill. We cross borders with our bats. Our game's a global feast, where every hit's an adventure, and every catch is a masterpiece. So tune in, sit back, and let's take the ride. With teams from every corner, we've got baseball worldwide. In Tempe, the sand's no match for our speed. And in Toyoma, the crowd's the the baseball Globetrotters. Welcome to the PEBA, where the world's our field. From the mountains to the cities, the action's never